Welcome back to Divisive Issues for really, I promise, the final Bleach episode. Where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial, noteworthy comic books. And for the last time, Bleach. I'm Ryan.
I'm Sly.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
Now, you guys have some corrections.
Yeah, we want to make a quick correction from last time with the Kenpachi versus Gremmy.
I know you guys are on Edge of your seat trying to clarify.
Let's just get right into the weeds right away.
Yeah,
it's been a week.
if you remember last time we said we couldn't really he died because he imagined himself dying because whatever he imagined.
The imaginary boy.
But what actually happened was he in his mind thought Kenpachi was such a crazy strong monster that he imagined himself being as powerful as Kenpachi. And his body just exploded from the thought of it because nobody can contain that amount of power. Yeah, no physical body.
The translation's not clear because it literally is like the shit translation we always bitch about, where it's like "fuck you, you fucking dumb shit."
Yeah, but I'm like, that is a way cooler way to die. Than...
Yes. And one thing I just want to specify: it's not that Kenpachi was so powerful.
He imagined Kenpachi being so powerful.
Imagined Kenpachi to be this unkillable, unimagible monster.
Kenpachi is kind of that powerful.
No, but like the way it's, I think that's a cool idea.
He imagined him being so powerful that no living being can exist at being that strong. Like,
right.
That's what he imagined being.
All right. So we are at the king of the Quincy's, Yuhabach. He is going to go see the Soul King. He's going to go do something with him. We're not sure. But he's on a bridge going to see him. And the monk, who's the head of the Zeroth Division, the secret squad of Soul Reapers, the strongest Soul Reaper in Bleach, is now going to face off against him. And it starts with him drawing a little, because his sword is a giant paintbrush. He paints a line on the floor, and he's like, from here, and then he runs back to here. It's where I shall defeat you. And he's got just this big, like, chubby cheeks.
And he just looks like a bald Mario with a big beard.
He's got like the monk style robes and if you've ever seen like the monk the beads, those like 108 beads or whatever.
I really love his design because it harkens back to. I think this concept is at this point for me. When we said, even though every character there's so many characters, they all feel distinct and different for the most part. This is the first character in a long time that felt very distinct to me.
Yes, I agree.
I agree too. I feel like a lot of them, especially like the clones of Byakuya and Renji, are very just like Byakuya and Renji. Whereas this guy, it's like you have not seen this guy in Bleach before, which is And so then he paints on like the sky, just this giant Japanese symbol. And he's like, yo, check this out. And a giant hand just like slaps the king off of the bridge. Boom.
Yeah.
It translates to heaven-piercing palm of 1,000 ri. Ri being like distance. Yeah. And he's like, by the way, so if you come within 1,000 ri of me, this giant hand just slams you away.
Yeah. And then he summons another hand and it just slaps him down. And then the king shoots himself with Quincy arrows to boost himself back upwards. Which is the only time I think he uses Quincy arrows. and then, that's right. I included this. I could have skipped this, but I just want to show you guys how obnoxious this is because they're fighting, and then Cat Lady's younger brother shows up, and he's like, "Where's Ne-sama? Ne-sama, where are you?"
I thought it was Cat Lady. I'm like, okay, at least I can't be dumb for thinking it's Cat Lady because it's a fucking brother.
I wanted to include because again. This always happens in Kubo where he includes a character and they're like, how are they going to come into play? And they do nothing. This boy literally gets knocked out in the first fight he's in, and then that's it. They don't talk about him ever again. You're like, cool. Great introduction, Kubo. Thanks.
Imagine being like fucking, what chapter are we up to at this point? Like 600 or something?
546 or something like that.
Yeah, imagine being 546 chapters in and feeling the need to introduce new filler characters.
He's even said sometimes when he gets bored or he's tired of where the plot's going, he makes up new characters.
It feels like it.
It does, it really does. And I'm glad you cut most of it.
Yeah.
We see the monk start to get more, like, he's very jolly, but when the king shoots himself back and he's like, wow, you leave me little choice but to make your life forfeit. And his eyes go completely white in this panel. And so you're like, oh, he's getting serious.
His smile's gone and now he starts looking angrier.
Yeah, the best way to describe him, he's kind of like a smiling Buddha for the most part.
Yeah.
But now, the chubby Buddha, I should say. But now his eyes go white. Now he looks like shit's going. Now I'm not taking this fight lightly anymore.
Yeah.
Yep, and as he's attacking him, he's like, my brush cuts not through flesh, but through the essence of name. The name of your arm has now been split cleanly in two, and then like his arm...
so like he blocks with his arm, and then he says, I stole your name, your arm's name. And so what's your the way the translator tries to say it is like, it's like if you took one of the letters off it, so arm became R. Like, he took a part of the name arm.
And he translator said, like, it'd be interesting if there was, like, a full translation of this, because the translator says, like, this concept does not work as well in English as it does in Japanese.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he lost half of his arm's, like, ability, so even swinging his sword around is now really heavy. And
Yeah, but then the king's like, because every chapter always ends, it's like, man, now the king's being beaten. And then the next chapter begins, the king's like, I can restore myself back to full power. Like, I'm the king of the Quincy's. Everything in this world exists for my taking. And then he goes to attack the monk again, and then so the monk's like, okay, I want you to be at full strength. I'm very happy, because if I crush you now, the reputation of the Quincy's is going to be forever tarnished. Because
he
said, here's the opposite. He actually says, like, you fucked up. I wanted you to beat your half strength so you can have an excuse saying, oh, he beat me at half strength, but now you fucked up. I'm going to beat you at full strength so you can really eat shit reputation-wise.
He says, you took my kindness for granted because I was trying to preserve your dignity, which I thought was really funny, too. He's like, well, if you want to die at full strength, then that's, whatever.
And see, then the Quincy King makes a blute, that blood, like, shield around him, and which will never come up again.
This is what you call Blut wenn anhaben.
Yeah. And he grabs, like, they just fight some more, but then he busts out basically his Bankai with his brush. And so he says, paint it black, Ichimonji.
I just realized, sorry to interrupt, I just realized, with all the German names, this guy probably was supposed to be Hitler, the final boss.
Do you think?
There's panels where he looks like Hitler, like where you don't see...
No.
I don't think
He
so.
specifically doesn't have hair in the middle of his upper lip for, like, that reason, I bet.
No, but like, I think he drew Hitler, and then he's like, I can't go full Hitler. I give him a full mustache.
I don't think this is Hitler.
I think this is Hitler.
Sly, you're not going to make the German stuff fit into the plot. You're not.
Sly, you're going full Hitler. You gotta pull back.
Never mind.
So, the monk, his paintbrush, the tip of the sword now becomes a very short blade. So it's like,
now his eyes are white, the style changes, and he looks very much more serious. Full. He's basically like painting on the world. Like the way it looks is like it looks like he's doing calligraphy on the page, kind of.
Yeah.
So the parts of this where it feels like I want more black, basically. But the calligraphy actually is pretty good, so it actually
that's what I was gonna say. I feel like this is visually the best fight in this final arc, because of like the calligraphy of it's really cool. Like when they're slamming swords against each other, a bunch of like ink is flying out of his sword.
It feels like in general, like a lot of the best panels before had calligraphy in it too. Like during the skeleton fight, it feels like this is where he got really into calligraphy and stopped caring about drawing real people. And he's more.
I feel like this was like his passion fight. Like this fight felt like he cared about what was going on in Bleach, rather than just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it is really cool. And like you said, there's like a little blade coming out of the brush.
Yep. And then as they're fighting, he reveals to him, it's like the blade, his blade, Ichimonji, has no name. Because usually Ichimonji has like something before it, which denotes like who made that sword. It's like this person, Ichimonji, or something, or like the blacksmith of it.
Because I think Ichimonji, it means like line
straight?
or something.
Yeah, I think it's line or straight, yeah. And so he says to him, it's like anything that's been blotted out by Ichimonji will also lose its name. So he's hit him with his ink. So he's like, guess what? You're going to end up losing your name as well. And then you get, like, the king trying to use some more, like, German Sankt Altar, like, Quincy moves.
So the whole thing, he talks about how he has power over the black. Which I found funny, because I'm like, are they finally bringing the title into play? But they never do. They never bring it.
I think a lot of I do think a lot of the translation stuff is weird too, because they keep saying like black. It's kind of, it also refers to the evil connotations, and then they say with name too. They're like name also refers to like reputation.
I feel like with this fight, because it's so based in like Japanese calligraphy, they were like, we're trying to cover all of our bases. The translators, they're like, because this could come into play, we're not sure, because this is being translated chapter by chapter. So if they pull out something later, it's like, I actually didn't mean name this way, I meant name that way. They're trying to like prepare for that.
And I do like the idea that his nameless brush gets rid of the name of things that it blots out.
It's very. It feels very kind of meta-ish, but
it's very meta. Yeah.
Like now the artist is like coming into the story, and
it's more just like, I feel like it's more about like the Japanese style of things. It's like, this is your name. Name isn't just like a word. It's a thing that means something.
Yeah. It is your essence partially. It's the fact that it's also partially reputation is like that idea that it is a core aspect of your identity.
It's kind of like in D&D, they have ability called true naming. If you know the true name of something, you have complete domination over
Oh
it.
yes, I've always enjoyed name magic.
I think that
stuff.
stuff's all really cool.
Yeah,
And that's why I like this fight a lot.
Yeah,
There was a book series that Chrissy had me read years ago. Like the first one was called The Lies of Locke Lamora, and there was like very little magic, but the mages that were in it were like people who use name magic. If they ever like, when you know someone's true name, you can basically have control over their life and everything. And I always found that super cool because it's like really powerful magic, but it like gets to the essence or identity of someone if you know their real name.
It's like identity magic.
Right. It's really cool.
So the monk tells him it's like, I control everything that's black, basically, and paints him over in all black, and then he's like, boom. So you used to be the one known as Yuhabak. I will bestow unto your pitiful self a new name. You'll now be known as basically an ant.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's your new name, so you have the characteristics and essence of being an ant.
Yeah, so then he's like, now get stepped upon like the meager ant you are. And while this is going on, the king is basically painted all in black, like it's like a silhouette of him, and he's just standing there. And then with a giant foot,
With the name on it.
he just steps on this dude and like destroys part of the bridge and crushes him. And he's like, I bid you farewell. And then the monk slaps his palms together.
Oh, great king of insects.
And then the monk slaps his palms together and then just like giant hands out of the air just smash him to bits. But then you're like, oh, well, he lost his name. He's no longer, like, he's not even the king anymore. He's just nothing now. But then he says, I did not expect that I could have seen this far ahead with my eyes in their closed state. And then he just teleports back.
All according to Kikaiku.
So of course, it's like every other fight. This is not his final form, and he released his final form now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, well, his final form's coming later. Because now he's released.
I've not released my penultimate, or even like
Yeah.
final.
And when he comes back up, he's still the silhouette, but he has his original name on him now instead of the ant. Because before he was a black silhouette with the ant character on him. Now he comes back and he's like, "What? How did you get that name back?"
And then Hashwath, his second in command, explains that the letter A, which signifies His Majesty's power, stands for the Almighty.
So guess what? I'm just God.
And he explains, Hashwath's talking to Uryu about this because they're just like, they're best friends that hang out and hate each other. And he explains to him, it's like, for like 1,000 years, like, I'm trying to think what this actually does say. Whatever.
This is fucking mad.
The king's really powerful. It's like a prophecy about like 900 years he's asleep, then 90 years he's like can't use his power, and then 9 years until this comes.
Just like
It's
everything fucking else is,
prophecy.
yeah, everything comes into play as soon as it becomes null from the word plot. Like Aizen fucking fucked Ichigo's mom 100 years in the past to plan for fighting him. What the fuck it was? I forgot what it was already.
It's not Aizen-ish. Ichigo's dad fucked his mom.
Whatever.
Anyway, the king explains it's like all these abilities, like when I bring them back into me, I get power, but I have my own power. It's the Almighty. It just basically, it's not impossible to land a single blow on me. So he doesn't really explain, but like his eyes, now when you look at his eyes, he has like multiple irises and pupils going, like rotating through his eyes.
This would work better if his eyes weren't so very
Small?
minimalistic. Like you can barely notice. I took me a while to notice that was going on.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
It's a cool concept.
I do wish I could see more of it,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
it does look pretty cool to me.
And then I love the monk starts going into like, you know, when people are doing a special move or a spell and they have to like go on like a poem about it. I love that. And he starts basically being like, well, I have to try, you know, again, he says basically, you shook off the black ant name, but don't forget everything that's black still belongs to me. He just starts basically throwing black ink all over the universe.
Yeah, he's painting like it on the ground, and he's like, drink up. As you drink, your life will also soar away. Flowers shall bloom, even on the road to death. And then he summons this, it's this really cool like 2-page panel of just this giant like shrine that's all black, just like popping out of the ground, and like
He steals 100 knights from the Soul Society of 100 years in the future to make this.
It's the translation they give is slaughterous mausoleum of non-reincarnation, which reminds me of one of those like shmups that we play that the translation's not very good. So they're like, yeah.
that's basically what it means.
Another thing about the eye thing, I like to, looking at it. I like to imagine he's cross-eyed because you have one eye, these two eyes going in the same direction.
Yeah. And so this is where it's like everything's black here, but it's done very well because he uses like almost like shadowing in very light places to make it like give it weight to it rather than just like black ink on the ground.
Yeah.
So he tells them enjoy.
You can't even come back to after you die from this. It's not that you die; you have never existed, so you can't even be reborn because you don't exist.
Yep. But as he says, enjoy your descent to pitch black hell. The king also says it back to him. He's like, and then the king says, I should have mentioned that I'm also all-seeing. Everything that I see is powerless before me. So you think that your name is devoid of meaning? My name is Yavak, the one who shall take everything from you. And then he just blows up the monk.
Yeah, I was like, what? What a lame end to that fight. Does he? That's it.
What shocker! Bleach has a lame end to the fight.
That's it. He just blows him up as the monk's doing his final move. He's just like, no, you die.
What a disappointment.
Like,
that was a cool fight.
Like most Bleach fights ends after it should have had earned it already, and it's always a fucking finale.
It really is. Like, there's so many cool fights that we've read, and I'm just like, I wish it actually ended well. Like, it never does.
That I feel like that's the last good fight in Bleach, or the last like kind of like interesting fight that we have.
So we go, the king makes it to the Soul King.
Oh yeah, the Soul King. So this is why I was laughing so much when we were talking about the Soul King. That gets introduced back in the Hollow arc and stuff, where it's like, oh, the Soul King, and it's like, who is the Soul King? What is he? So it's a dude floating he's stuck in a crystal. He's got black eyes with like white pupils.
No arms or legs.
No arms or legs, and he's just sitting inside this crystal. And basically what happens is the Quincy King shows up, and he just stabs him through the chest. And he's like, boom, got him.
Yeah, it's like Genova or something where he has all his hidden power. He just dies being stabbed.
Farewell, Soul King, for I have seen the future. My father. And you're like, wow, what a twist. And for the rest of Bleach, you're like, what did he mean by that?
What did he say?
Connected.
He said my father as he killed him, and I thought
Called him his father. He says he's my father.
I missed that. Oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah. And so I have tried my best to include almost every Soul King part in this comic. There's only one part that I leave out, which is it's that the Soul King doesn't like the Shinigami. That's it. But otherwise, like, what you understand about the Soul King, what I included is what I know about the Soul King.
I guess that explains why this guy's so fucking strong. He's fucking son of God. I guess he's Jesus.
So Ichigo finally shows up. He's super late to the party. He's reforged his sword, so now it's even stronger. And he's like, before he came here, he reveals, know how the monk blew up? Only the monk's head remains, and he's still alive, and he talks to Ichigo while this is going on.
Oh my god.
That was not clear in the article.
What I didn't notice that. I also, what I really just hate about this in general is like the monk had such abstract world-altering powers that are so cool, and he got blown up in like one shot. I'm just like, how Ichigo's just big sword man? Like, how is he gonna beat him?
Also, who? I'm sorry if I missed this. Who was the monk in the first place?
He was like the guy who created something.
The swords, Zanpakuto. He was the one that came up with the idea, and he's the strongest. He's like the head of the strongest soul captain.
So did the Quincy King? Did he kill him just because he didn't want any more fucking swords?
Well, he was standing in the way.
Okay.
He was protecting the Soul King. It's just like it's like that guy. Like he says earlier, like thousands of years before Bankai even had a name, I created this stuff. Yeah. And then it's like Ichigo's just a sword guy. He has no cool powers.
But he's part Quincy and Fullbringer and Hollow and human. So
I wish he was dead.
If Ichigo was dead, this would be a much interesting.
I agree.
I forgot while I was reading this. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, Ichigo's back, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess he is supposed to be the main character.
Yeah. So Ichigo, I think he has one side fight, and that's all I skipped, and that's really it. Ichigo isn't really in this.
He's the fucking Sonic of the Sonic comic. He did right all
some of the more interesting parts of Dragon Ball Z is when Goku's dead and they have to figure out what to do without him. I liked that when
Ichigo's he was alive.
I know, and I wish they just fucking killed him and had other people do stuff.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Goku. Dragon Ball would be better if Goku's dead. Yeah,
like the Cell Saga when Goku's dead and they're trying to fight Cell on their own. I'm like, that's cool, and then they fucking bring him back.
Fucking Namek when they had to team up with Vegeta, the previous villain. That was interesting. That was fucking interesting when Goku came and fucking stopped the villains.
So this isn't the Dragon Ball Z podcast. So. The Soul King is, like I said, it's the limbless guy floating in the thing. And since he's in a crystal, his expression doesn't change. So he always just has a small little frown on his face. And the king shows him, it's like, hey, it's too late. You've arrived too late. Look, the king's already dead. And Ichigo tries to fight him.
As we know, a sword through the chest is instant death in this world.
Characters can survive being splattered into nothingness. It can be survive in space, but a sword through the chest, you're definitely dead. No way you're alive.
And so Ichigo goes to strike at him with his new sword, and instead, because he has Quincy blood flowing through him, the Quincy controls him, and he makes him cut the Soul King in half, so he's super dead.
The funny thing is, like, this is even the payoff to the Quincy concept, because he could have been Shinigami using Shinigami blood. He could have been a Fullbringer using his Fullbringer status.
Yeah.
He could have used any of his fucking multiple
No,
forms.
because all Quincy's are bound to the Soul.
I know, but he
King.
could have come up with any bullshit.
Oh,
like,
I see. He could have been any king.
He could have been any king. He could have been any
Could
king.
be the king of, like, energy, power.
As we saw in several fights, if you get cut in half, you're also definitely dead.
So when this happens,
Soul Society starts collapsing.
yeah, he explains again that his power is that he can foresee the future and he can steal all power. That like he steals people's powers, like the Bankai stealing stuff.
Oh, there was some dumb thing about stealing powers earlier that I don't remember where it was, but somebody went to steal somebody's powers and they were like, it didn't work. And they're like, yeah, it's because you didn't know how much power I had, so how could you ever steal it?
It was the old man of Soul Society
Yeah.
when Lloyd Royd tried to
Which,
steal his
that's not how it works. If somebody's like, if I have like hidden $5 in my pocket, it means you can't steal my other money. What?
It depends how the theft works. Like
No, but
it's like how in Sylar and Heroes can only do it when he understands how your power works.
yeah, that's what I view it too.
I don't know. It seems a little ridiculous to me.
Because you're just used to Rogue, who automatically steals your whole power.
Yeah.
And so Hat Clocks is down in Soul Society with like all of the rest of the Soul Society captains. He's like, oh my god, the Soul King's dead. And he realizes Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and even the real world everything's going to be destroyed. And the Soul King's goal is that the Soul Society was created to bring stability to staggering chaotic mass of traffic caused by souls traveling in and out. And that now that he's gone, Soul Society will return to its former existence, as will the Precipice world, or the real world, Hueco Mundo, and everything. Everything's going to return to being one world. And this is our only Bleach, like, world building universe, like cosmogenesis stuff that we get, where it's like, so everything used to be one world, and then they made the Soul King, they put him in a crystal, and he split I don't know how this works, but the Soul King's dead, so everything's gonna go back to being one world.
Well, they said like before the Soul King there was chaos.
Yeah.
Because souls going everywhere and stuff like that. So I guess he's destroying civilized society or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
with
makes
all the souls, without having a soul realm, it was just like LA, and there was just like really bad traffic all the time, so they had to split everything up. That's not it. Like, they don't say it's like LA, but it's literally like there's too many people going back and forth. It was too busy or whatever.
So now, this is when we skipped like a whole bunch more chapters, because it's just like more like filler fights come in, and like Ichigo gets kicked out of the Soul Palace, and then he has to find his way back up to fight again.
Jesus Christ.
Yep, and while this is happening, one of the captains is like, hey, guess what? I am the right arm of the Soul King. I've had him imprisoned inside of me, his right arm, so I'm going to send it up Ukitake, one of the Soul captains.
Who?
Wait. He had the arm in him his whole life, or what?
It's because he was sick as a child, so they had to put the right arm of the Soul King in him to stabilize him.
Should we know who Ukitake is?
No.
Okay.
So the one time you've seen him,
You have to clarify this. Character we don't know does something. There, that's what he said.
Do you remember when Rukia, that giant phoenix, was gonna attack her and like kill her, the giant blade? And then one of the captains runs up with the straw hat and he puts down the shield that wraps its like ropes around the phoenix to hold it down, get rid of it.
Yeah.
The other captain helping him is Ukitake.
God,
Hey, everyone's relevant forever.
Everyone's relevant. Yeah, you guys love this stuff. Ukitake plays a
It's
major role.
Calendar
in this.
Man came back and actually fucked Superman's mom and blew up Krypton.
The thing is, it's fine. It's just that I like that stuff.
It's not fine.
No, I like that stuff. The problem is people do that and they don't die, and so and like there's too many characters.
Hey, guess what, motherfucker? Ukitake dies in this.
So
Thank God.
but like
He only dies because Kubo stops writing Bleach. That's my theory. Like, I think Sly, you're right about that.
Yes.
People only die because Kubo stops
I
writing.
really think like he just when he wants a character back, he's gonna bring it back no matter what. Doesn't matter what happened to him last time.
Yeah. So Ukitake sends the right arm up to stabilize it. So you're like, oh, okay, now the boundaries, nothing is gonna fall apart. But then the Quincy King just absorbs, like he destroys the arm and then he absorbs the Soul King. So now he has this completely black cloak over him. So now it looks like he's just like silhouetted. But now he's got like white circle eyes.
He's just all black now. He's just pure black with a little
Like
bit of
a
space.
calligraphy brush paints white circles where his eyes should be.
Yes.
Instead, it's just like
almost
a black club.
almost like spider-like with all the eyes.
Yeah.
like,
There's
fly out.
there's a Venom story called The Madness where Venom gets irradiated or something, and the symbiote splits into multiple heads. So it's kind of like the Venom symbiote, but with multiple Venom heads coming out of it. So it's like a really creepy, like Lovecraftian kind of thing. That's what it reminds me of, like Venom, but with multiple eyes popping out.
And then here's where, like, originally when I put this together, I just skipped like the 60 chapters. But then I'm like, you know what? No, I want you guys to know all the hell that you're skipping that doesn't matter. Because the end fight's gonna be Ichigo versus the Soul King, or the Quincy King, right? And so while this is happening, they bring Aizen back, and he's like, yo, check this out. He's
still in the chair. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has no power, so he's like, I'm just gonna blow up, I'm gonna shoot down the Soul King's, like, the palace up in the sky. I'm just gonna blow up all the Quincy's. And so he tries to do it from his chair like a baller, but the chair is apparently too strong, that just absorbs his power.
I love that. They're like, you've been in a chair this whole time. Obviously, it's stronger than you. Fuck you.
What happened to Aizen's eye? I forgot already.
That's he just wears it because it's
Okay,
cool.
his new costume. He has a solid snake eye patch on now. From
He does.
Yeah, I don't.
I
think
wondered
anything
the same
happened
thing.
to
I'm like,
his
I
eye.
guess we missed.
Oh yeah, he has a bandana and eye patch. So I guess Kubo was playing Metal Gear around this time. He's like, I should have this be my character now.
Yeah.
Also, just in one panel, there's just that fucking Nazi guy dressed like a big sunflower in the background, just to remind us that this is dumb.
That's his new costume. He has a sunflower now. We don't know why. He's just a sunflower.
Well, I was gonna include this too, but I'm like, I don't want like more panels. Oh no,
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
No,
I care.
Too bad. The Quincy's teleport here because they use darkness. That's how they teleport into the land. So he dresses up like a big light bulb in order to make it so they can't teleport behind him and stuff.
Oh my god.
Not that it matters when you have like a guy who's all knowing and all powerful and stuff. So then I show like the final fights against like the Quincy top generals and stuff. The first is the Nazi doctor fights the left arm of the Soul King.
It's Master Hand from fucking Mario Brothers. I mean,
With eyeballs in like the middle of his palm, and as the
More
fight
like
goes on-
Crazy Hand.
Yeah, it's Crazy Hand, but it's like it grows up more hands, and then it starts to talk and becomes sentient as the fight goes on.
We are entering into my favorite Darryl notes that we've had this whole time.
Yeah, and it's just it's such a bizarre fight too, because the entire time we're like, what is the Soul King? Like, I don't understand. Like, what did he want? Because one arm went into a Soul Captain and was used to stabilize himself when he died. The other arm is a Quincy that's walking around. You're like, what? I mean, I guess they're Quincy's or something. And his legs are gone, and his legs are never explained. Who's his legs?
I view a lot of this stuff as when Final Fantasy, like, what do you become by level 99 when you're fighting Sephiroth who emerges into like first form he's like a fucking like sentinel, then he becomes like a half angel, half whatever thing. Like
it's
like,
different when you're doling out like your jobs and regulations to different parts of your body, where it's like, how do these even like?
I just feel like it's a lot of. I feel like a lot of like anime inspired stuff has this where you just become this weird amorphous, undescribable thing.
Unknowable.
Yeah, like it's unknowable basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have one of the Soul Captain Kings with a straw hat. He fights against a sniper that can shoot through anything. That's his power. It's X. It's letters X for X-axis.
After all this, you gotta.
What?
Yeah, you heard me, Ryan.
After all this, he fucking fights a sniper who looks like fucking Bishop from X-Men, except with an X instead of an M, which makes more sense for X-Men, but whatever.
Yeah.
And so after he gets beaten, and remember, this fight is like the same thing as like the Kenpachi. It's just like 100 chapters. He turns into a giant angel with wings, and then after
this art is so shitty. It looks like a fucking high school kid drew it.
After that gets beaten, he turns into a bigger angel with
These
multiple
are just
legs.
Pokemon evolutions. This is just
that is it.
Dialga.
It is Pokemon evolutions. It looks like a Pokemon evolution, but like
It looks more like Evangelion angels or something.
No, those have like a style to them. Like they're not this loosely like bizarre. Like they're simple
Then
and
it
geometric.
gets almost into this like these like Junji Ito weird ass bird things.
they look like ostriches with really long necks, but their necks are so long they're like curving. It looks like if Junji drew a Dr. Seuss character.
Yes, that's a perfect description.
But why is this happening? Why
is anything happening? What's the point of anything happening at this point?
This fight goes on for so long, and the guy with like the straw hat, he finally uses his Bankai, which is a 4-step Bankai, so it goes on forever. And at the end, he can't even kill him, and then he has to use another person's Bankai, and then her Bankai specifically made to fight gods. So she's like, it reflects the power of gods back at them. So then beats him, but then he turns into a bunch of ostriches that are just walking around.
These ostriches ostriches are the sniper then?
Yeah, they're the sniper.
Okay.
And then that scene, that's the last time we see him. And also this guy here that's here, this is one of the fan characters that died back when the Sternritter first invaded, the Quincy's. And you see he has this giant hole in his chest where his heart is because his heart got blown out. But it's held together by, like, metal. And that's it. That never gets explained. That guy never shows up again.
Wow. That's something.
So we never see the sniper die after this. And then after that, our next fight is Hat and Clogs, Cat Lady, and Grimjow all fight a Quincy. His power's very bizarre. I say it can make anything poisonous, but his is that he controls the lethal doses of things. His letter's D for death dealing. And so what he does is he's just like, you cut me, and then I'm like, I guess cutting is no longer lethal to me. And then, for instance, do you know that one guy that was like really the Shinigami that I said that could kill you in one hit, and he just like teleports around and he's super fast? Mm-hmm. He's like, when you got my blood on you, because as soon as his blood like touches you, or he has to like eat blood, he has to eat the substance he's gonna make lethal. And so he's like, now your blood's lethal to you, so it kills you. Even though he doesn't die there, actually, he gets brought back to life. God, I hate Bleach.
Yeah, I hate this.
That's a cool idea again. That's just not used well.
Yeah.
And there's almost like this cool idea where it gets introduced here where it's like the Quincy's hate the Hollows so much because their powers get nullified if the Hollows touch them or something like that. Where it's like, if, like, for instance, Grimjow kills this guy by ripping out his heart because he's like, as a Hollow, he can like kill him. It's bizarre, but it's also like, hey, you at least introduce a weakness to the Quincy that they have to avoid Hollows because they like their powers don't work. If I think it's like a Hollow body part has to be inside of your blood has to be inside of you.
Another problem with this though is, was this ever brought up with Glasses Quincy?
No.
Yeah, that's another problem with it. Like the Quincy would be so much more interesting if they played up stuff they established with Glasses Quincy. Like, so it feels like it's coming to
It feels
fruition.
like payoff. You're
Yes.
like, oh, he has to make sure not to get touched by them or he loses. Yeah. And plus, again, the only fight the Hollows are important with, the Arankar are important with, like Nell and Grimjow, is just this poison dealing guy. They come into no other fight, so you're like, okay. Also, this guy beats Ichigo off panel, which is my favorite thing. It just shows Ichigo dead on the ground because he got beaten by him.
That actually is good because the first time a fight ends up that way you didn't expect it. He couldn't draw, of course, but at least one fight ends with Ichigo losing.
And then Darryl, when you say dead on the ground, I can never tell with Bleach. Is he actually dead?
He's not. He's not dead. No. It's
just
beaten. Okay. Hat and Clogs' Bankai is this giant lady that stitches up his wounds and stuff. So now you're getting like the last, like the final Bankai go arounds of like, oh yeah, I never showed you this. Oh yeah, I never showed you that. He also turns, Cat Lady? She comes into the fight and then he makes her like feral. And she looks like super sexy while she's feral too, which is very bizarre and very uncomfortable. But we know Kubo's MO at this point. Oh, he's going with uncomfortable stuff. And then the last Soul Reaper fight that we have is this guy that stands for his letter's M, and he stands for the miracle.
He looks like fucking Thor. It's fucking Thor.
Yeah, and he's the heart. Well, he's a Viking.
But it's a Viking, but it's just what a weird design for a miracle man.
Yeah, and he's the heart of the Soul King, which again is like, what do you mean by that? The heart? What?
I guess it's supposed to be going back to like the Norse mythology of the Nazis. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you think about most
after all that stuff, all the ostrich Jujutsu stuff, now you're bringing that theme back after all that time.
Well, the theme's always been here. This guy's always been dressed like this.
I know, but like, it's just, I guess where we introduced it, it just feels so weird that now we finally go back to the Nazi theme after nothing else look anything even remotely resembling like a literal.
Well, it's because they turned into, like, I think, like, the Junji Ito, like, ostrich things, it's supposed to be him being more angelic, which is why he looks like a bird, because he says, I'm a messenger of God, that's what he turns into.
But then why not look like a Valkyrie or something that harkens, like, that's what I mean, like...
Because I think it's trying to do, like, Judo-Christian mythology, too.
But that's not Judo-Christian. That's what I mean, like, if it was Judo-Christian, if each one reflected, like...
Judo-Christian.
Well, he has, like, the multiple wings, like a seraphim. And they're
but it doesn't look. If the images didn't just look like generic final boss anime bad guy, like I would enjoy it. Yeah.
This guy's power, the miracle guy, is such a dumb. This goes on for so long. his power is that miracles come out of nowhere and make him stronger. So it's like they beat him the first time. Renji's like, look at you, like you're a little shit. You can't possibly defeat us. And he's like, that would have to be a miracle to beat you, wouldn't it? And so every time he gets killed, he just comes back stronger. He turns the strength used to kill him into his own strength. So they kill him. He turns into a
spoilers,
giant.
Everybody in Bleach has this, Darryl. Every time someone dies, they come back stronger. It's not a goddamn miracle.
And also,
No, but this guy gets big.
He's like the juggernaut.
it's also fucking stupid because one of the best X-Men villains, Sebastian Shaw, has the exact same power.
That's what I was thinking.
And the question is, X-Men are like, wait, how can we stop him? They have to come up with a plan to like throw him off, to like basically incapacitate him somehow. But here, they just keep killing him. He keeps getting stronger. They never stop killing him.
Yeah, which is just so funny because it's like Kenpachi shows up. They're like, how are we gonna kill him this time? And Kenpachi goes into Bankai, which turns him into basically like a demon and Oni, and his like sword like breaks. It looks like a twisted cleaver that's broken, which is kind of. And then he just cuts him up a bunch of times, but then he turns even bigger, and he has like longer hair. And they're fighting in like a city, and this guy's like towering over the buildings. Like a 4-story building is now like goes up to his ankle.
And then fucking the little boy captain becomes fucking giant size too, apparently.
He doesn't become giant size. Because this is just like a big frame picture of it.
Oh, okay.
I thought he became giant.
I thought he was like Ultraman rising to the size of fucking monster.
I was like, oh, we're going for kaiju shit now.
Oh, no. He turns into an adult. He becomes legal, basically.
Well, at least he does it for both male and female jailbait.
And this is like his Bankai, basically, if he's in it long enough, it turns into this. So it's like, I didn't lie about what my power is. I just wasn't in it long enough to turn into this form. And then him and Byakuya kill this guy, and then he turns even bigger. And so it never shows anyone like this guy dying by the Soul Reapers.
What do? They just leave?
He's still fighting. I'll get to it, what happens. And so the final thing, oh boy.
It says the miracles never cease, and that is 100% true.
Yeah. All right, so Ichigo, Orihime, and Chad, our original like group of friends, are gonna go and fight the Quincy King, and they're running up and
Final fight.
They're recounting meeting with the Glasses Quincy, who at this point, finally, when the Quincy King has become God, Glasses Quincy reveals, my plan all along was to plant bombs around the city and blow him up.
Wow.
Think about it. I'm like, are you serious? Bombs? Like, you think bombs are gonna kill a guy who had his name erased and came back to life?
when you said Glasses Quincy, like we said, oh, do you think Glasses Quincy's gonna be an important part of his next final arc?
Yeah.
And I saw him showing up over and over again in this arc. I was like, wow, Darryl must have been teasing us. No, he does fucking nothing.
He does nothing. It's so awful. So as they're running, these giant like stone statues go to fight them, and they dodge them, and then Chad like deflects one of their blows, and he's like, you know what, you guys go on ahead, I'm gonna fight these statues. And as I was reading this, I was like, oh my god, like I cannot believe the final thing Chad's doing. He doesn't even get the job against the final boss. He just goes and fights trash mob enemies. He's like, we don't need to fight these guys. They're just stone statues, but I'm gonna fight them anyway.
That would be fine if like they established like these statues were so powerful, but I'm assuming they don't do that, right?
They're introduced in this scene that you guys are watching, reading right now. That's where they get introduced.
Because I do like when they have like the minions are so powerful. Like you have, but it doesn't matter because the story's all about Bruce Strike anyway. But like in the more clever written story, the minions are super powerful, and it's about beating them with cleverness. So
you have 26 lettered people, and not one of them is Chad worthy of fighting. Chad fights no one.
I'm picturing like in the first Harry Potter book when they're the core team is going through.
Yeah.
Imagine if Ron was just like, guys, there's this puddle here. I'll stay by and wipe it up.
Yeah.
You guys go.
Or like,
ahead.
this dog's chasing us, so I'll distract it.
Doesn't one of the three of them get stuck in the vines when they fall in or something in Chamber of Secrets?
But that's not the last book.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm not against Chad, like, jobbing or doing useless stuff. It's just, like, at the very end, you have, like, our original cast of characters are trying to go do stuff. It's like Glasses Quincy also stays behind to fight the Quincy King's second-in-command, Hashwalth. And so it's like, okay, that's cool that he's going to have a fight against a letter guy, like a big guy. And Chad just does whatever.
It must mean something that Darryl's bitching about not more having more fights.
No, it's not that it's more fights. It's that Chad has to stay behind for a fight that is so inconsequential that these guys should be beaten in one
The
fight.
Harry Potter comparison is a good point because they don't know they're going to have sequels for Harry Potter. So when they have the final finale, Ron's a good chess master. That's what he's good at. So he gets beat in the chess game. Hermione's really smart, but she doesn't.
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah,
but she doesn't think she has the courage to go forward. So Harry has to do it. So like it feels like there's a point to it. This has no point to it. He's just like going to fight.
Yes,
the
and the thing is, if a
exactly,
Nazi doctor can get 100 pages of fighting against a hand, it's like at least Chad could do the same. But no, whatever. Bye, Chad.
Yeah.
So we get finally to. I already skipped like 3 chapters of them fighting beforehand or like getting ready to fight, and Ichigo goes into like his Bankai mode, which is like half Quincy and half like regular, and he uses 2 swords now, and they combine together into one for his Bankai, I believe. And as they're fighting, it's like he can use a Grand Ray Sero now with his Getsuga Tensho. Like the Grand Ray Sero is the laser beams that the hollows were firing. So it's like finally, like 400 chapters later, Kubo remembers that he should have hollow powers if he can use hollow moves. But so he's using these against the Quincy King, and he's like, whatever, like you're out of your league. I can stop you. All like your logic's beyond sound, but that window of opportunity is being slammed shut. And as they're fighting, like he keeps like putting these, he calls them traps, and they're just like black stuff.
So he can see the future. He predicts where he's going to step on. So everywhere he steps on, he basically steps into a trap. Ichigo does.
Yeah, it's like, how are you doing this? And it's a good question. It's like, how do you fight someone with omniscience? Someone that can see everything. It's like, if they're fighting you, they know. Yeah. And so he reveals to him that he can see like all possible futures in the world. And then Ichigo's like, all right, I'm going to finally use my Bankai. And I was wrong. He's been using his Shikai up to this point, which again, why would you go into the final boss fight not at full strength, but whatever. And so he finally
You were
uses
bitching about him going to Bankai immediately. Now you're saying it's not a problem?
No, I'm saying he should have gone into it immediately.
But you always say he goes to Bankai immediately every fight.
Yeah, and he should have here. Because I forgot that he was fighting him in his Shikai beforehand. I'm like, why would you fight him in your Shikai, not Bankai?
Because you gotta have the escalation every fucking time.
Yeah, that's true. It's dumb, though.
Especially when the Aizen fight, it was explicitly stated, our egos fucked it up. They say for sure we should have done this.
Yeah, I should have attacked Aizen with my Hollow Man.
It's like if you watch a lot of shitty zombie movies from like the 80s, they're always like, you gotta shoot him in the head, and you spend the whole movie never shooting zombies in the head and always getting swarmed.
So Ichigo goes into his Bankai, and so what's great about this is, one, we have never seen Ichigo use his Bankai before, so this is like a hype move. It's like, what is his new reforged Bankai gonna be like? What is it gonna be? And 2, we know if Bankais are broken, it is impossible to repair them. So Ichigo goes into it, you get a 2-page splash panel, and he goes, Tensa Zangetsu! And it shows him holding his new sword, and then the next thing is that exact same drawing again with the sword broken.
It's like the laziest cut and paste I've like ever seen.
I didn't even know. I thought Darryl repeated the panels. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and so the king is like, I broke it through the future. Sorry.
Yeah. And so he explains to him that his power, like as they're fighting and stuff, his power isn't just am-nish-sense. He transforms the future. And that's where I'm like, there's no one stronger. Because any future in which you can possibly beat this guy, it's like, that doesn't happen. And I was trying to think, is there any power stronger than that?
No.
Yeah, because he says it's you were thinking before probably, just because I could see the future doesn't mean like I could necessarily put a trap under every footstep you're going to take. Mm-hmm. But you start to think maybe the future can be changed. And he's like, well, I don't see the future. I transform it. You literally are fucked because how could you possibly stop me?
He does the thing that Darryl wants where he's like, no, you can despair. Like, despair from Ichigo.
Yeah.
Ichigo's, so he doesn't really despair.
Well, he's pretty despair because remember his Bankai's broken, so now he can never prepare it again. And it's like, how do you fight this guy without a Bankai?
But he doesn't. I should say, like, he doesn't say anything. Like, he's just like,
because he's like traumatized.
I know.
Look at him;
like,
he just stares at him the whole time.
No, actually, he does say you can despair now, Ichigo, and Ichigo goes ah.
Of course, we want to see what Uryu and fucking Hauswaft or whatever is doing.
I had to include this. This fight is so great. So Haschwalth, his letter is B. It's the balance. And so he has this big shield, and basically what he does is he rebalances things. So any attack that Uryu does to him goes into his shield and then rebalances and goes out to Uryu, or goes out to like the person fighting him.
This is so fucking stupid.
And so Glasses Quincy gets hit, like he attacks him.
Glasses Quincy's like, but wait, my power is A.
Antithesis.
And now everything that you did to me gets done to you.
Yeah.
And then B is like, no. Since I'm balanced, you still take half damage anyway. I'm
Not
like,
half
wow.
damage. He gives him back the damage. They literally have the same power. It's like any damage that gets done to me, I give to you. And then Glasses Quincy's like, well, any damage you do to me, I do to you. And then this guy goes, any damage you do to me, I do to you. And then Uryu's
so
defeated.
fucking
He's like, well, shit, I'm down on the ground.
This is just kind of like, no, but you win because I... Like, why does balance counteract antithesis? I don't know. It just fucking decides it does. It just fucking decides it does. This is
And
fucking,
it's so funny too, because it was hinted at throughout the arc where it's like, even here, they're like, your power might be the key to defeating the Quincy King. This might be the way to beat him. But then it's like he's beaten here, and you're like, what's gonna happen?
That would have been cool if he used antithesis to beat it, but no, they have to make it dumb in this fucking fight.
Yeah. So it cuts back to Ichigo despairing, and you can see it's like him, my sword has no effect, neither does Orihime's shield, it's all over, and he's sad. And then for some reason, the Quincy King's like, alright, so now what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna gather up all of my powers. He has this move called Ashwallen. That's where he calls back, he can forcibly call back his power to his body.
Because remember, by being a Quincy, he has some of the king's like power.
Yeah, so he steals that back from him, and then now the guy that beat the Glasses Quincy, Hashwalth, like he
Oh, and just real quick, I think we're right around here. There's just a cover for a chapter.
Yeah.
It says the time draws near when all the stories come to their end. Just blank more chapters, and it's crossed out. And I'm like, just fucking tell me how much more of this.
I wanted to point this out too, because now the covers are becoming sketch drawings. It's a sketch drawing of the final boss. It's so fucking lazy.
it's great too because all these chapters
But just,
are
like,
called the end. They're called the end, and this is like the end 4. The next is the end 5, the end 6, the end 7, the end 8.
And also,
He just refuses to tell me how much longer there is in this hell.
and also they act like they're drawing to like some kind of like everything's coming to fruition, but it's not. It's just the end of this fucking fight with this fucking guy who Ichigo has no
Yeah.
connection to. Like it's not like
No, he's the ultimate predecessor. He's the first Quincy.
But like that doesn't it doesn't mean anything to Ichigo. It doesn't mean anything to me as a reader. Like nothing's coming full circle. Like that fight where Ichigo's fighting a guy who is inserting himself in all his friends and stealing his friends away from him. That's a coming full circle kind of moment. It does not feel like everything's coming together now. It's not
he
like
doesn't
that.
even-
Well, wait. Maybe Kubo will bring it all together. He does have blank more chapters
Yeah.
left to wrap it all up.
And so Hashwalth is basically talking to Glasses Quincy about like friendship and stuff because he betrayed his friend to serve under the Quincy King, and as he's about to kill him, the Ashwallen, the thing where the Quincy King he takes back his powers from people, he takes it back from Ashwallen, so then he loses his power, and then the giant guy that was unkillable, the only way to kill him is to take his power away from him, and that's how he dies, which is like that giant image.
He's pulling the power out of all his dudes.
Yeah, and he's taking all these powers back, and the funniest thing about this is so inconsistent too, because some people die from it and other people don't die from it. And it's not like, you can't be like, well, if it transforms their body, you die from it if you can't have it. It's like, no, some people just die from it and others don't. Like, Ichigo's mom...
I think it was because they get killed. You said, I'm going off your summary, because you see they get killed in these fights. Like, the sniper got killed, the Miracle Man got killed, and
The sniper didn't get killed, and the Miracle Man... Or here, they're getting killed, yeah.
No, but I mean, like, well, you said, like, oh, they killed the sniper, they killed the guy, he came back as this.
Yeah.
Because I'll view it then as it's his magic, it's the Quincy powers now.
Right. He's been dead, but
Yeah, he's been
whatever
dead.
was keeping him alive.
No,
Yeah.
but the thing is, there's other people, like Ichigo's mom, it was retconned to Hollow didn't kill her. When he did Ashwallen the first time, that killed her.
Whatever. I'm done with this.
Not gonna watch the anime film.
Oh, this isn't in it, so...
Anyway, I have to bring that up because the Ashwallen is going to play part later where he takes all the powers back from people and stuff. And there's some people, he does this earlier too in the chapter, like, he does this, and Baz B doesn't lose his power when he does it, but other people do,
Mohawk
and other
Man.
people do die.
Mohawk.
Doesn't matter. So Ruki and Renji show up, they're like, oh damn, we're late to the party, and they're not here to really fight him, they're just, Renji tries, but it doesn't matter, like, you can't get through, like, his giant force field And then you get Hashwalth. He's almost dead, and he just tells the glasses Quincy, it's like, you should go fight against the king. It's useless.
They have this whole conversation. They have this whole conversation where he's like, "You think I'm sad to be dying? I'm serving the king. I'm happy. You suck because you're serving your friends." But then now he's like, "You should go fight for your friends out of nowhere."
Yeah.
Like he has to like they can never have a person be a piece of shit throughout. They have to die honorably, like being a nice guy.
Yeah, right before he dies, he's like, transfer your wounds to me so you can
With
go defend your
antithesis,
friends.
yeah.
I don't
Can you have a character be a dick all throughout the way?
Aizen.
I forget. Did they make Aizen sympathetic at all? They didn't make him sympathetic at all, did they?
Not really, no.
Okay, so Aizen, but that's it. Only the final boss can be that bad.
Rukia's helping out with Orihime, and she's like his power is too strong, and Reggie's telling him, it's like, get up, don't despair, you need to fight, even if like we can't heal your injuries or we can't do anything. And he's like, it's too late, it's hopeless now. And then he gets stabbed through the chest, and you're like, oh, and it's Tsukishima from before the Fullbring arc. And this is where I was like, this is really actually cool to bring him back and do this. And so he's here with Ginjao, the guy that
Also, that I found that to be really interesting right away, because I was like, oh, there's like this past and future dichotomy that like is cool.
I found it weird because I'm like, how did Ichigo not kill this guy?
Byakuya was the one fighting him. Ichigo never fought. He didn't beat Tsukishima. Byakuya was the one that.
But
fought
why
him.
would he let him escape after all he did?
He didn't. He thought he was dead or something. It's the weird thing. It's sort of like with Aizen killing Momo. You're like, you think she'd be dead, but no, they're not.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because I was like, nobody dies in this.
What's great is the guy at the skull jacket is dead, and the reason he's here is because they're in Soul Society, where the dead people go.
Okay, that would at least for all of them. I mean, fucking no, whatever.
Anyway,
I
do like the idea though. So yeah, he's like, I can go into your past and be there, but also I was in a past where you didn't get your sword broken.
So how did the future guy not see the future that this past guy was meet Ichigo? Like,
I don't know. It's such a wonky power. He says there's a past where your sword didn't break. I should be able to reject it in the future. So I insert myself into your past, so your sword can get repaired in the future. But
then he wouldn't be standing where he is if he didn't get his sword broken. He'd be still fighting.
I think it creates like multiple timelines or something.
And he takes from a different timeline, I guess, into this timeline.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Ichigo's like, hell yeah. So now he's got a sword, which again, like, how are you going to fight a guy that
what does it make to get your fucking sword back? You're fighting God.
And also, he broke your sword in a panel. Like, it's not like, oh, now I have you had this ability before. And
spoilers, the way he breaks, the way this next fight happens, the guy tries to break his sword again, Ichigo just says no, it doesn't break. That's literally what fucking happens.
So the Quincy King teleports back down to Soul Society from the Soul King's palace. He goes down there, and he's just Aizen chilling in his chair, and he's like, yo, welcome to my Soul Society, Quincy King. And then we get, oh boy. It's the glasses Quincy's running. Uryu's running to go join in the final fight. His dad and Ichigo's dad are there, and he fires an arrow at him, an arrowhead, the Uryu's dad. And he's like, use this.
I didn't recognize that as Ichigo's dad at all.
Yeah, he just shows up just to be like, look, the dads are saving the day. And he says, when the Quincy King regains his power, he steals it from people, a silver blood clot is created in their heart when they die. And I collected that from your mother, and I forged this arrowhead from it. Shoot it at him. And he's like, okay, cool, I got this cool Deus Ex Machina arrow, thanks. So Ichigo and Renji go down to fight against the Quincy King, who's currently engaged in combat against Aizen. He blew up his chair, so now Aizen's finally free. He starts like breaking Ichigo's sword again, but it's not breaking in half. It's just like shattering. I don't know why it doesn't just.
He just says like you're able to reject it now. He just, like I said, he just says, "I'm gonna break your sword," and Ichigo's like, "No," and it's like, "Oh shit." That's the way what fucking happens.
Yeah. Renji tries to fight him, and he like blows off Renji's arm, and then Aizen goes up to fight him, and he uses Hado 99 again, like the random magic uses. And that's the most powerful one. And then he breaks Aizen's Kyokusetsu, Aizen's sword, which, fun fact, if you remember, Aizen said he no longer needed a sword. It disintegrated, but it's back now for some reason. And then Ichigo goes to fight him, and then he shatters his sword again, and then he blows a hole through Ichigo's chest, the Quincy King. And it's like, it's all over.
Wow, it's not like it's happened before.
Yeah, this exact fucking thing has happened before.
But wait! The ultimate twist.
Yep. And then it's revealed that he's not stabbing through Ichigo's chest with his hand. He's stabbing through Aizen's chest. And Aizen says, so you think you're gazing at Kurosaki Ichigo? fascinating.
This is actually a cool twist.
I thought this was cool.
Yeah, I thought this was cool.
He's like,
This is actually like a check. This should have been when a checkmate happens. Spoiler, it's not when a checkmate happens.
Yeah.
Checkmates
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
arbitrary, but this is actually a payoff to something you said before.
So
especially
Ichigo's
because in terms of like future powers, like you see yourself stabbing him. Maybe
and
your future
Aizen's thing
sense
is
tricked.
anyone that's susceptible to sight gets
Right.
this, and so his thing's all about eyes.
Yes.
It makes sense to like that, even though I don't know when the king had seen Aizen use his sword, because again, if you use it, that's when you get under his illusion spell. But it's a smart. It makes sense. You have one OP power versus another, and Aizen wins.
But it doesn't matter.
Ichigo stabs behind him and then cuts him in half with a Getsuga Tencho. Good job. It looks like Getsuga Tencho did something, but it didn't, because the king can reject realities in which he is dead.
Like every other fucking fight, this goes on way longer than it should have, and ends on a point way dumber than much more brilliant previous points.
Truly. So he comes back, it's a giant silhouette with a bunch of eyes all over his body. He's like, I can...
He's no longer even before he had like still see his mustache and like Batman's cowl kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now he's all silhouette. Nothing.
He's like,
nothing,
yeah, he's just a blob. And so he's like, this is the end. Now everyone bow before me. And then an arrow gets shot into him by the glasses Quincy. And what it does is it stops his powers for a brief second. And you're like,
Out of all the futures, he never predicted a future where this whole time they combined this plan where they were getting this fucking arrow ready. He never saw his future coming ever.
yeah. And then he's like, someone, doesn't matter if you manage to stop my powers. And then Ichigo goes to hit him with his Bankai. He holds out his hand, the Quincy King, and it shatters the Bankai again. Oh no. But no, it's because Ichigo's original Shikai, the first sword transformation, comes through his Bankai and cuts him in half.
I didn't even get that. I didn't care at this point.
It's weird because it's like he's reaching out. Ichigo's sword is cracking. Then the
Yeah.
next panel is the same panel, but it's not cracked.
It's
Which one's his
no,
first
no.
sword?
No,
It's not-
Because he
the
says
sword,
that
the sword
he-
that's cracking is Ichigo's Bankai, and then as it shatters through it is Ichigo's original Zangetsu.
So that's his original sword.
Yes.
Okay, so that makes more sense.
That's the butcher knife they used back at the very beginning of the Soul Society
Yeah,
infiltration
okay.
arc.
Right.
Which
that's
makes
like,
sense, but then you're like, but why that sword? I don't know. Other than just being like,
It's just for
remember?
homage to beginning.
Poetic,
things.
yeah.
Poetic.
I'm saying because before I thought there was no point to this happening. Now there's just a thematic point, but but there's still no plot point why this happens.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and it's
no
with
plot
the
point.
arrow thing too. There is some oracular powers in fiction where anything that would interact with your ability to see the future, you can't see necessarily. Like you can almost buy it if they would ever have said it in here. Like because I'm turning off your powers in this time in the future, you can't see that.
Yeah, you can't detect this.
You don't have access to it because you in that moment don't have your powers, so you're not like present. Like they do that in Dune a lot, where you can't see futures that are interacting with your future sight. You know.
Yeah,
But they don't explain that.
So after all that fighting, the final panel of the dead king is a black silhouette of him with the line dropped on him through him. That's how fucking he draws his final moment.
Yeah. And so then we skip a chapter where it's like 10 years later. This is what all the
I
captains
can't
are
believe
doing.
you still have to skip chapters.
Well, this is like
I
this is
just-
like
Well,
the
I
Harry
could
Potter
include it.
epilogue.
This is like the Harry Potter ending where it's just like fucking
what
fan fiction.
that's what I was just saying. Like it's like
ending.
It's closer to
These are-
Naruto, since Naruto started like the trend of being like 10 years later, everyone's like this.
But it feels like oh, everyone got married and they all had kids. And
I was thinking
now
of
he's Albus Remus Dumbledore Potter.
I was thinking of including it just to show you, again, they don't mention anything about the Soul King. It's like, what happened? The Soul King stabilized life, and the Quincy King absorbed the Soul King, so what happens when he's dead? It's like, I don't know. Like, everything's fine, I guess. You're like, cool. Great introduction of a character, the Soul King. Amazing.
That reminds me of Final Fantasy VII, where the finale was just 10 years down, like 100 years down the line, actually, and no one knew what the fuck happened because it never fucking explained what happened to Earth.
Yeah. And there's
Guys, we're so close. We're so
the one
close.
great moment that I'm skipping in the chapter is that there's a guy that runs up. He's the guy with 69 tattooed on his cheek. But he says to them, it's like, guys, I finally mastered Bankai. And they're like, ha, no, you didn't. And that's it. And everyone's like, it's just Kubo teasing him. It's like, look, this guy probably knows Bankai, but you're never going to see it. Speaking of, do you guys enjoy that we never saw Aizen's Bankai?
I didn't really care.
I didn't even notice.
It doesn't matter. After all those forms, you're gonna say,
does!
"Wow,
What is
you
this
never
Bankai?"
labeled one of those 50 forms of Bankai." Wow, ooh, I'm so
I
torn
just
up.
want to see. Anyway, okay. So
you were talking about what was it? I don't even. What the fuck is a Shiryu? What the fuck's a Bankai? What the fuck are the...
Shikai's the first form, Bankai's the second form.
It's all arbitrary to me. You could say like this is Kukai, this is Momasuma. Like you can make a million Bankais.
No, but
like,
most people until this last part only have just those two. Though.
I know, but but like I felt like there was so many avenues to getting more power. The fact that Aizen never went Bankai and got more power shows that's arbitrary whether you got Bankai or not.
But the thing is, everyone that got more powerful at least had a Bankai before they stepped up to like.
But it's arbitrary. Like if you can get any
Guys, we're so
Okay,
close.
I really want to hammer this point home. If Bankai was the only step up the ladder, I'll be like, why would he say I has a
It
Bankai?
is. No one gets stronger than Bankai.
It is not. Fuck you. It is not. Aizen never won Bankai.
No one gets stronger than Bankai.
Aizen never needed Bankai. There's so many ways to go up the ladder. Your hollow form, you go half hollow form, you can go
But not
Shiryu, you
not
can
for
do this.
Soul Reapers. All the Soul Reapers had just Bankai.
I feel like
Yeah, just Ichigo does all that stuff.
did the fucking king go with Bankai?
The Kings of Quincy is not a Shinigami.
But it doesn't matter. He was stronger than all the Bankai people. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He stole our Bankai. It's just, it really. That's why. If it, like when you talk about, I wouldn't see everyone's Bankai. If Bankai was their one source of power, I would be like, I want to see everyone's Bankai. But I was like, it's arbitrary. It could be Super Saiyan God. Like it is like Super Saiyan God, where you have Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. Now in the modern game, Dragon Ball, you have Super Saiyan God. If it's arbitrary, I can't get excited for it.
I wanted to see Bankai on Bison. So as this is going on, there's like this plot thing 10 years later that there's still some traces of the Soul King appearing. Some are like, oh, what is this? And like the Nazi doctor is finding it. And it cuts back to the real world where it shows you Ichigo as like an adult and he's meeting with Rukia and Renji and they're coming over to like hang out.
Yeah,
It shows
so,
you like,
so you do get, after all, you don't get a payoff to Orihime Ichigo romance. They're married, I think.
That's what I was saying. You get a payoff, but like being married when you haven't even kissed on screen, is that like a great payoff? Amazing. Like this is a great...
But it shows that he this is like in the back of his mind, but he never fucking cared.
Yeah,
enough
but we
to
don't ever
in the
get to
back of
see
his-
like the moment that he
it just shows that he wanted this to happen, but he didn't care to make it happen.
No, he didn't. The thing is, it's just like with Naruto, where it's like there's just a whole bunch of pairings that come out because I guess you have to get married 10 years later. So it's like, who are you gonna get married to? I guess Ichigo does get married.
Okay,
to Orihime.
you're right. That's probably it, actually. Because
Yeah,
every
and while
10
this-
years later, everyone has to get married at some point.
Yep.
Also,
I never saw Rukia and what's his face
Renji, Rukia marries
Well, no,
Renji.
they do say earlier, Renji's like, I did all this stuff because of Rukia as a childhood friend, and because you, Ichigo, came into the picture, we became close again, right?
But here's the thing. This is what I hate about like this kind of writing too. This is what people bitch about with fucking the alt-right or the incels. The idea that if you score enough friendship points, now you're gonna fuck. Like that is so fucking stupid. You could be a close friend, die hard, and not want to marry them. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I never got impression they were romantically interested.
And I always have a big problem with this kind of thing too, where it's when they just fast forward and like, oh, they're together. That implies that only the status quo is the closure climax of a relationship, but it's not. Like, it doesn't matter that they're together and have kids. I want to see them get together. I want to see the like when they both confess their feelings and like are together for the first time. Like, that's the climactic closure to me, not just like, oh, they're together.
I agree. You guys won me over. Darryl won me over the most when he said this is just what you do when you have a flash forward. But you're right, Ryan. They never show the actual culmination of
the actual arc. It's just like
after this was closed out, Kubo did give permission to, I think, another writer to write a light novel about Rukia's wedding, so you get more closure there, I guess.
Oh my god! I mean, I don't care about
Anyway.
that. It was mostly the Orihime stuff, but whatever.
You can't care about the Rukia Ranger romance because it didn't existed. This is the first time it's brought up.
Yeah, so you see like Ichigo's sisters are here and they're watching a heavyweight fight and it's Chad. He's a fighter. And guys, this is just the saddest. I wish Chad had died because when Chad started, he didn't fight for himself because he was afraid of hurting people, and so Ichigo taught him to fight for his friends and stuff. And now the end of his arc is that he hurts people for money. He's a professional boxer.
How can he do MMA without killing everyone?
There's no way Kubo remembered that plot point you just said.
That's brutal,
And it's just like it's such a like you didn't understand Chad's character.
He doesn't say
at the
anyone's
very
character. We talked about this all throughout, like Ichigo and Rukia's, like the relationship there. Like, oh, do I feel responsible for this? None of it mattered. He forgot. He when you said he got bored and started writing other stuff, it really feels like that. He just got bored and started writing other characters.
So you have Glasses Quincy on the roof. He became a doctor, and he's watching the fight to be like close to them and stuff. And then
I like this. This was a nice. They say they have to say it's a strangely sweet moment, but I do think it's a strangely sweet moment that he goes to become a doctor, but he still wants to call in with his friends. I kind of like that moment.
Yeah, and as they're hanging out, they're like, "Hey, where's our where's your kid, Rukia and Renji? Weren't you supposed to bring her?" And she's like, "Oh, she's a Shinigami. She just might have gone somewhere. I don't know." Then you have like Ichigo's son, who's this little kid that's like crawling forward.
He's Kid Ichigo. He's Ichigo, but small.
Yeah, and he reaches forward for this like dark orb that's there, and as this is going on, like the matter of the Quincy King, because it's the matter of the Quincy King, the dark orb that he's reaching forward to, and in Soul Society it disappears, the last remnant of his power, and you're like, what happened? And then you get Aizen expositing where he's like, they look back where all the Soul King wanted was a path to a world with no fear. Because of Soul Society and Hueco Mundo, you fear like dying, and so because of that, you're living in a world with fear. So he would just want to return everything back to its original state of like no souls going from place to place. But then Aizen's like, well, he didn't understand that fear gives people courage. And you're like, okay. Also, great thing, Aizen's sitting, he's stuck to his chair again. I'm like, how would he willing to go and sit on that chair? Like, it's so bizarre why he's back there.
Also, we there's so much you must feel despair moments. We didn't even go into them. I thought this was going to be a payoff to a previous comment because he said when you feel like when he spares Ichigo the first time, when he breaks the sword, he says, I want you all to live because I'm going to use my future powers to come back when you're most happiest and crush it from you. So I thought maybe he's going to kill Ichigo's son. And now that would have been an interesting payoff for that comment. But no point to that comment whatsoever. Yeah,
because then out of the black orb comes Ichika Abarai. It's Rukia's daughter.
Female Kid Renji, basically.
Yeah, it's like Rukia too. Like when she showed up in his room and was like, "Hey, bitch."
But it's a combo of Rukia and Renji because
almost like a child of theirs.
Yeah.
Yes, and then she points at him, and you are, and then Ichigo-san says, "I'm Kazui Kurosaki. I'm a Shinigami too." And then he gets like the cloak, and she goes, "What?" And that's how Bleach ends.
Yeah, this series sucks.
Also, the last chapter is called Death and Strawberry, an inverse of Strawberry and Death.
Wow.
Oh wait, no.
It's like
I think it was the same chapter title actually, because they used whatever.
It's like everything came full circle.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, but you guys, we made it, guys, and I'm so glad to get through that because again, nobody talks about that arc and just how
There's a reason why I don't talk about it.
Oh, it gets so bad. So you guys have read 2,000 pages of Bleach.
Oh my god.
It's a lot of pages. You've read about 2,000 out of 13,000 or so.
Jesus Christ.
Which is about 15% of Bleach. So I figured out in order to cover all of Bleach totally, we would have to do 40 more of these podcasts.
Oh my god. So Darryl, you read all of this.
I read it all. Yeah.
You gotta find something else to do with your time.
I got problems.
Didn't you read this twice because you read it the first time and you had to?
I had to look through certain parts. I didn't read it. Like this final arc, I didn't read again. I was just looking for specific things. It did take me a long time to organize this stuff. I basically read it twice. So, first question: would you guys read the other 85% of Bleach?
Not a fucking chance in hell.
No.
Zero.
I'm good.
Are you sure, Sly? Not even fake Karakura Town, which you were so excited for, and which you said you would probably really like.
The thing is, like now that's like, if I didn't read the ending, I don't know. It's just like it's for me. Like
you're so exasperated.
Like I said, I loved the side stuff because I like that better than the main fights. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like. This is a good point to stop. I don't know if I want to go like.
You don't want to read more.
I don't know if I want to go back. Maybe down the line I want to go back after. I'm just so tired right now.
So would you guys recommend Bleach?
I liked the stuff we covered on the first episode a lot. I think that that stuff was really cool. Like, I would honestly recommend the parts that were covered in that first movie that we did in the Patreon episode, like that block.
So you recommend the first arc, which is the first 68 chapters.
So you're recommending the movie? Right?
Yes, just watch the movie. No, like obviously the movie's terrible, but like that chunk, even like when he gets to Soul Society is when I was like, I recognize that this is still good, but it is not for me. You know, but and like even like the way the Aizen arc wrapped up was like a pretty good finale, but I know like at that point we were skipping a lot of stuff pretty regularly. The only stuff that I felt like I would want more of this like status quo was that like first arc before they went to Soul Society.
Yeah, too bad it never gets as like. And what's great too is I loved talking to you guys about that first arc and stuff because there's so much that you bring up. Like, remember when Phil's like, I like Khan, the guy that's like the dummy that gets put into Ichigo's body.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's interesting. That's like, why would you kill dummies? And there's all like these, you know, moral questions about what is Soul Society doing? What are they like? And just all this stuff just goes away and never comes back. And you never like have to think really about what's happening beyond that. You're just like going down winding trails that don't lead anywhere with a bunch of expositions or drawings that aren't even that good anymore.
Yeah, a lot of that early stuff felt to me like it was like building this world, and the whole second half was like the world didn't matter. It was just this bad guy, and like that was it.
I think that's why I can't say I'm gonna go back to read it because it reminds me how I felt watching Lost or Heroes or stuff like that. I am 100% willing to get excited for the journey. When I know when I know concretely that it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's like the motivation. Like until I watched this last arc, I would have been willing to read Fake Curitown and a lot of other stuff. But now, like it just saps my motivation when I know there's no hope left.
It leads to a magic arrow killing the final boss.
Yeah, there's no hope. Like at least every time I'm reading this stuff, I'm like expecting like because like we had like contradictions to what you would hyping up for us, and then it turns out no, those contradictions were a tease and it wasn't. Or he has a nice moment with Ichigo, but no, that's the last time you ever. Really
That's the last time you ever see it.
Was it Quincy doesn't do anything, but no, he does do something, but no, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So like if I was reading it, that hope that these interesting side plots might matter, these interesting side characters might matter, would have kept me going, but now that hope is dead, so I can't get that motivation anymore.
What about you, Phil? How are you feeling about looking back on Bleach?
I just wish it was like so much shorter than it
And
is.
keep in mind, we only read 15% of it.
I know, but even like the time that we didn't specifically read, it's not just the drain; it's like the plot. When Darryl's like 90,000 things happened here, and then this is happening. It's like. It's too much. It's so too much.
It's that's why I was talking about the not having mass. This is obviously the most egregious example, but this is why full sagas drain on me in general because it's a long time to have one plot going on for a story. Like to have one.
It's you know it's cool stuff in it. I like a lot of the fights. I like a lot of the powers. I just wish this was like much shorter, or like maybe Kubo could have taken his ideas and done a series of different shonen, shorter shonen, like...
I feel like a lot of this could be their own shonen. Like, it doesn't have like, he just used a Bleach name to tell other stories.
This is why I had said before, why I like the Fullbringer arc so much, is because it doesn't feel like it goes... Like, it could still be cut in a lot of places, like, things could be shortened, but it doesn't feel like it wastes a lot of time, like, meandering about. And partially it's because he just has 7 characters that get introduced.
I feel like if I were to watch anime, I would watch, like, the first season... Second season and like skip to Fullbringer arc because
that sounds like what I would do.
I probably at some point will just watch some of it just to see this turned into anime. Like I generally prefer watching.
It's
anime
not
over reading
it's
manga.
not that great animation, but
no.
Like at least Naruto gets some really bomb ass studios.
I was thinking that
stuff.
like I liked Naruto's fights
Bleach
a lot.
does not have that at all.
I noticed that the especially since I should talk Kubo so much this fucking episode art wise, but early on he had a really big personality to his art and his characters, and from what I saw the anime, it doesn't really capture that as well. I feel like the manga is a better route.
So you guys can agree with like that graph I showed you where it's like Bleach just super shoots down in quality and gets really bad.
Yeah.
And like I said, it feels like the direct-to-video sequel to a series like I canceled like 10 years ago.
Yeah. And to be, like, I agree with you, Sly, where it has that effect on you like a Lost or like a Game of Thrones, where like this ended so poorly, I'm just like, I can't get excited about it ever again, and nor can I get excited to like see even the good stuff where you guys were like so hyped and excited. Like when you guys were talking about like how great the captain fights were, I'm like, just wait, because you're gonna read so many, you're just gonna hate any fight you read. Like you're
There's
just like
366 episodes.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. There's so many fights, and like Big Karakura Town arc is like that where you're just like, I just don't give a shit. I get it. Like you have another form, you have another power, no one dies, it doesn't matter.
I just want to maybe break character from my usual stance, but I just want to say, even though I enjoyed the beginning, I wouldn't, like, if somebody was like, I'm interested in Bleach, I would just say, like, don't. Like, there are parts that I thought were good, but, like, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch, read, or recommend this at all.
Full circle, finally, because in the beginning I was like, we're doing this so no one ever has to read or watch Bleach. And you guys at first you're like, oh, this is great, I would watch the anime, and now we've come all the way back where it's like, no, don't read it, don't watch
even the parts I like.
If you like Bleach and you were curious how it ends, and your curiosity was piqued by our talking about it, it is so much more boring that we can fucking illustrate.
And you guys have read so many more exciting things than what Bleach really is that I've read, which is so much more boring than what you guys have read.
Even the parts that I really liked, like I've seen close enough things done similarly or better other places.
Yep.
Like I enjoyed the Orihime and Ichigo dynamic and like the stuff with her brother and everything, but like it was not like that wouldn't be enough for me to want, like, to really, it wasn't enough to carry me. It was just like, that's pretty good. I was expecting it to be terrible. That was pretty good, but like
fleeting moments.
I have no intention of like even thinking about this ever again.
It's not like you're watching like that material was so written. It was like Oscar winning.
Yeah, exactly.
Writing. It was just really well done and like you really hit the right notes, and it was very effective. It's not like you gotta read it. Like this is like we always say about Ryan. Like these are the stories that define me. This Bleach is not gonna define anyone except like how you find show
absolutely
dumb over time.
Remember, Phil, how before, when we first started, I still remember this, where you're like, Bleach gets really bad. And you're like, well, all shonen gets bad. I was like, no, Phil, you don't understand. Bleach gets really bad.
Yeah, it is one of those things that, like, I could never recommend it to someone knowing where it goes, because I'd have to, well, you'd have to recommend it with the caveat that, like, it's only half of it is worth experiencing.
Yeah.
At best.
And that's what especially sucks, because it could end well at the Aizen arc, but the Aizen arc, like that whole the Arrancar arc, is when you start to feel that exhaustion where you're just like, I think I'm like done.
I can imagine like if they never do this because you gotta be faithful to the source material. I wish more people would do this. Not have a director's cut, because obviously Kubo's cut is the director's cut.
Yeah.
But have like a publisher's, like, we want people to read this, the whole thing, cut and enjoy it cut. Like that's how I feel about the Clone Saga too. Clone Saga has so many good stories, but altogether it's 12 volumes long, and they're all like Bible length. But like if you could cut it down to like 5 books, you could see like this is a really good story arc. This
what's crazy is I'm looking at the wiki for the anime, and there's 16 seasons. And Soul Society ends after season 4. Like,
Jesus Christ.
So, like, the Arrancar already started at 5. So it's like, I mean,
you're stuck in like Arrancar hell for a long time.
I would just say in that same vein, Sly. That's what, like, Darryl, your cut is like the best Bleach will ever be. I think. Like,
thank you.
Because like it really was like, I know that we didn't get like the full experience and the fatigue, but like. Even though, like, you know, by the end I was like, this is really boring and stuff like that, like, it was still, I thought it was worth it to read this whole big, like, 5-part PDF that we had. Like, this is, I wouldn't have been as satisfied to just stop at a certain point, just because, like, the way I consume media, I don't like to just jump off. Like, the Darryl cut is what Viz Media should print.
Yeah, they should publish the Darryl cut.
Release the Darryl cut. I'm glad that you guys went along with this hellish ride. My favorite thing about Bleach is just like seeing like the power sign. I like it does have like a lot of good like shonen like hype moments, like the first Ichigo versus Kenpachi fight where they're fighting and it's like he's so terrifying that he just like beats Ichigo immediately. It's just like Kubo really reuses the same tropes over and over and over. And even if the designs of his guys are good, it's still like it's just too
much. And like you guys said before,
I think his designs get worse over time. Like, his best designs are closer towards the early arcs.
Yeah,
and I think it's like you guys said over time, where every fight basically has an obstacle. How do I do this? Then I can't wait. I can't do
almost every chapter, like, I really left this out how much this happens. Every chapter ends with either the good guys cutting the bad guy and they're like, oh, they beat them, or the bad guy cutting the good guy and they're like, oh, they beat them.
And then they're like, clever way to end the fight. And then Kubo's like, no, how that didn't work, but I just want to win. And
Did you know that the imaginary guy wasn't even dead at the end of that fight either? No. That's just where I cut it off, where he...
How'd he die, then?
He turns into a brain in a jar because that's what he really was.
Oh yeah, I did read that. That his body was just imagined too.
Yep. But it's still like, it's another thing where it's like just this additional chapter where like, oh, just, I get it. Like, I don't need to keep reading this.
Yeah, so Kubo just fucking watched The Matrix recently, and he learned about the brain in the jar theory, and he's like, I'm gonna put this in my fucking story for no reason.
Oh man, what a pain. I'm glad that we finally did it, that we got through it. So now when you guys hear people talk about Bleach, you're like, Bankai, you at least have some knowledge of what that means.
I never heard anybody talk about Bleach until we did this.
Some knowledge.
Yeah, it's like I said, this series, I guess it's because it went downhill so fast. As big as it was, I dodged it completely.
Yeah.
I never knew any of these concepts.
Yeah.
According to this author, the reason Gremmy didn't imagine him just killing Kenpachi is because it was the first fight he ever enjoyed, because he actually had a real fight, and so he wanted to drag it out.
That trope makes me madder than anything else.
This is apocrypha. I don't believe this.
It's not on the page. It's the writer fucking clarifying his own bullshit after the fact. Second of all,
fuck Ubo.
If that was a fact, it would have made so much sense with Kenpachi being there. Like, that should be much more relevant to the fight. That both of them are, because that's what happened to Kenpachi when he fought Ichigo. He's fighting a relevant fight for the first time, but they don't even bring that up at all. So I'm just gonna call bullshit on that. I'm calling bullshit on that.
The last thing I forgot to mention is there are some people that speculate that this ended so quickly, like how Ichigo just beats him and it's like 2 epilogue chapters and you don't even get like Soul King discussion or anything, is because remember that this was being published in Shonen Jump at the time, and Shonen Jump wanted all of this stuff like out. Like, I think the last issue that's like, this is the final chapter of Bleach is like only half of the thing, and then like the other half is like what else is included, rather than just like, Bleach is ending, this is chapter 688. They're just like, yeah, whatever, Bleach is ending. Anyway, you can also read One Piece.
So it's like those fucking direct-to-video sequels. They cut the budget down, and like you're gonna get on a fucking TV network. You're not gonna film.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they wanted him out of here, which is why he was just like speeding through some. That's why the magic arrow kind of like feels like it comes out of nowhere, is because it gets introduced in like a chapter beforehand, and he's like, well, I gotta wrap this up in like 3 chapters.
Because you said the sales tanked for this, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But
yeah, the sales of the Tankobon, I think, when they're
it's so fucking funny, because that means no one wants to do this story anymore, but it still lasts forever.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't just have like it end like the anime ended, where Rukia comes back. He had to have this big epic arc in his mind that he was crafting. Rukia. He's simultaneously this visionary completionist that also never follows through on anything, never fucking builds up anything, never fucking sets anything up, like, and doesn't give a fuck about the main characters. Like, it's amazing.
Bleach is the Star Wars prequels if the original trilogy was just okay.
Yeah, man, there's so many loose threads. I completely I miss Ichigo and Rukia's interaction. It's just so funny that Kubo got to a point where it's like, this isn't what this show's about. All these original characters you care about, this isn't what it's about. It's about these captains being cool, and you're like, okay.
If I can't imagine they do a publisher's quote unquote cut. Like, I can imagine like an anime taking this setup and like making it bearable, maybe.
No, I feel like. I guess we'll have to see. Again, the closest we got is that Bleach live action, which, I forgot, at the end of these issues, it was being teased that something big is going to come, a big announcement at the very end of it. On the final, the release of this, the thing that they were teasing is the Netflix movie of Bleach. Yeah, so that tells you all about you need to know about Bleach. That at the very end, the thing that they're hyping up more than anything else is the Netflix live action adaptation, which was... It's serviceable if you like Bleach.
Yeah.
But like, if they ever do that, I recommend have Rukia and you should go throughout the entire time.
Yes.
And more Orihime and more Chad.
My recommendation is I don't want to talk about this ever.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that.
No, I can't wait to bring up examples in like every comic past here. It's like this guy's kind of like an Eisen character.
Man.
Oh, I can't believe you don't see his Bankai. I'm still most upset about that. My theory is that he never had it.
That's why Darryl hates this fucking series. You never see Aizen's Bankai.
Yeah, I love him.
It
so
is kind
much,
of like Walt and Voss, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, it's like,
Who
oh.
was he?
Who?
Okay.
Walt.
Oh, that's a good question. Who? We did it, guys.
Oh my
I
God.
hope everyone listening enjoyed our talk of Bleach, and let us know what you think about the series, having listened to us complain for the last like 3 hours.
Are we done? Are we
Let
done?
us know
with
if you want
Bleach?
us to cover everything else. Yeah, we're done. We're done.
Okay, so we're
Bye-bye.
gonna do a couple fun like holiday episodes and stuff. So we won't have any more. Well, I mean, I doubt we'll ever have a saga this long again.
Yeah. I was thinking potentially of doing something like this for Naruto, but I feel like there's too many parts of that that are
No.
No, I don't want
Okay.
to.
For good stuff.
Yeah, it's like maybe
Exactly.
we could do like an introduction to Naruto,
Yes.
or we can go up to maybe Shippuden. I could see, but that'd be about it.
That's always a problem. Like, I always want to go back to more Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know if you guys want to do that, but the problem is like it's just so much to do. Like the show would just have to be that, or like weekly, basically.
Yep.
Just manga every week talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're done.
Yeah.
Cool. So while you wait for us to do another saga, if you want another long series with an infuriating end, Jay over at Potstar Podcast has been doing a 5-part series on the war on drugs.
Oh,
And it's been really, really great. At the time of recording, the last part's not out yet, but each episode's standalone, but you get like a whole episode on Nixon, you get a whole episode on Billie Holiday and a lot of the early like Prohibition era, like the rise of the war on drugs, and most recently there was one all on like the 80s and 90s like DARE and Just Say No programs. So that was more like stuff that I remembered from being a kid, and based on my friends group, they don't stop people from doing drugs. But
Hey,
what? I'd say you guys. We're not friends. We're coworkers. But yeah, it's definitely. I think it's an excellent series. And when I say infuriating, I don't mean from the content. I mean from the not from the production, but from the society.
The reality.
Yeah, the reality. But yeah, you can check that out, Podstar Podcast, and all the other shows at the Flying Machine Network. Go to flyingmachine.network. And yeah, we shouldn't have any more weekly episodes. I think we'll be back to bi-weekly for a little while at least.
Yeah. Let's only do this like once a year.
But definitely, I hope you guys enjoyed this Bleach saga. Even though I complain a lot about it, it was still really, really fun and enlightening to see. Like, because I haven't ever read any really long form manga. Like, even like Dragon Ball Z is like not that long. So I thought it was really great, and I want to extra thank you, Darryl, because you did a lot of fucking work.
I did spend quite a few hours getting everything together and going back through and editing where I'm like, I should include this to help clarify that. Like the original cut of this had zero sulking stuff because he doesn't fucking matter. He's not in this ever, and when he dies, it doesn't matter. But I was like, no, you guys need to experience this nonsense of what was the sulking.
I am not thanking you. It's like, oh, thank you for being so thorough in torturing me. You spent a lot of time figuring out the things I don't want. And
I mean, people put in a lot of work designing that Iron Maiden, man.
this is like you taking me when I add some Silver Age issues to flesh out.
I would read Bleach any day over Silver Age comics.
So you can suck my dick. We're not gonna thank you for fleshing out.
Well, I appreciate you, Darryl.
You're welcome.
All right, let's end this suffering.
So thank you all for listening to Divisive Issues and our endless coverage of Bleach.
Endless cover.
Endless
chapters of Bleach.
I've been Orihime's cleavage.
My name is now Ant.
I've had Darryl insert himself into my past and reject the reality where I didn't read Bleach.
And I have finished drinking this bottle of bleach. It's awful.